Hi everyone, have a look at this chart. Just at a quick glance, can you tell which region had the most growth over time? Hard to tell quickly, right? Because first you have to read what this chart is about, then your eye has to go back and forth between the legend and the lines to figure out which line is which region, and then finally get some sales related insights. Now look at these charts. Even before knowing what is what, you can quickly tell that this line for south is growing steadily over time, and this north one, it does grow fast initially. However, towards the end, it ends up being at the same level as when it started. So these charts right here are called small multiples. Small multiples are a series of similar charts that use the same scale and structure. Think of them as panels in a comic strip. In each case, small multiples ensure visual consistency, thus making it easier to compare data across different categories or groups without cluttering a single chart. So in this video, we will be looking at how to create them, some real-world examples, and then finally tips for effectively using small multiples in your presentations. This is our chart that we are going to turn into small multiples. This compares crime rates across 4 cities over a period of 1 year, starting with January all the way to December. The blue bar here is for city 1, orange for city 2, and so on for the remaining 2 cities. What I'm going to do is, since we have this chart as a column chart, I'm going to use a column chart for small multiples. So go to Insert, click on Chart, select a column chart. The first one, called Clustered Column, will do. Click OK. I have my data here. I'm just going to copy the data for city 1 into the data sheet of this chart. Let's delete these extra categories. I'm going to click on Select Data. I'm going to switch my rows with columns. Then close the data sheet, double click on these bars, reduce the gap width to something like 30. Double click on the vertical axis, go to Axis Options on the right, change the maximum to 200. Let's get rid of the grid lines by selecting them and pressing delete. We don't need the legend. Click on the legend, press delete. Let's reduce the chart size to about this much. Place it here. We can also change the major units on the right to 20. So the difference is 20 between the two values on the vertical axis. Let's enable the line for the vertical axis. So single click on the vertical axis, go to Fill option, go to Line, click on Solid Line and select a black color. Let's do the same thing for the horizontal axis. So double click on it, go to Line, under Fill option, click on Solid Line and select a black color. I'm going to click on this chart area and increase it slightly. Let me move this chart title in the center and reduce the font size to 16. I'm also going to change this blue color to a vibrant blue. Then click on the chart area once and give this a shape outline of black. One more thing we can do is add tick marks. So double click on the vertical axis, locate tick marks on the right, and under measure type drop down box, select cross. It's looking good. I think we are done for city 1. So let's duplicate this 3 more times and place it like so. Now all that's left is pasting data for city 2 here, city 3, and city 4 here. So let's do that quickly. Let's clean this up a little more. I don't need this axis to repeat everywhere. I'm just going to make this match the color of the background. Similarly, I don't need axis here. We can move these 2 charts a bit closer and place them at the center like so. And that's it. One thing to note here is any formatting changes you want to make all of those with your first chart before you duplicate those. Otherwise, any single change will have to be replicated for all the charts. So now if we compare this chart with this chart, you can see that the trends are much more clearer and we can really make use of this data much more easily compared to something like this. Anytime you have a busy looking chart, see if you have an opportunity to convert that into a small multiples. For the next part, let's look at a few real-world examples of where else we could be using small multiples. Here we have an XY scatter plot that shows website traffic data by 3 device types. along the vertical axis we have number of visitors, and here along the x-axis we have number of days. We could convert this into a small multiples chart, which could look like this. This is an area chart which you can get access to by clicking on insert chart and selecting this first area chart that's right here. You can see the trends a lot clearer here compared to something like this, which is fine. However, this is much more intuitive to follow. Next example is tracking health metrics such as heart rate across patients over a period of time. So we have this table which has the heart rate in beats per minute for 4 patients from Monday through Sunday. As we all know, tables are not a good visualization to see trends, so a small multiples is a great candidate to use for this kind of data. This is how it could look if we take each patient's data and create a line chart for each of them. Now immediately patient 3 stands out for us, as there is some abnormality observed with this patient. Here is another example which I had covered in one of my previous videos. We have a rating scale data which is shown in a stack bar chart format. So we are asking how satisfied the customers are with each of these products on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 being completely dissatisfied and 5 being completely satisfied. If we use a small multiple chart here, this is how it would look. The ratings and the patterns stand out a lot more prominently with this visualization compared to just having a stack bar chart. Here is one final example of small multiples chart. I'm using a donut chart here. This is a healthcare example where we are showing prescription data for a specific drug for the treatment of some ailment. We have 3 markets, and this is the duration that doctors take to prescribe this specific drug. Finally, let's look at some tips to make it easier while working with small multiples chart. Number 1, make sure we use consistent axis for comparison. As you saw in all those examples, our scale, either horizontal or vertical, were exactly the same. Next, limit the number of charts to between 6 to 12. Of course, you can go with 4 as we have done in these examples, or you can even exceed 12 if there is space or we are using something like a donut chart. However, the more charts you show, the more you can justify using a small multiples chart. Next, label each panel clearly, like you saw in all those examples where we labeled right at the top what the chart was about. So like city data, or it was regions like south, north, just label them in a short, concise manner. Next, leave some white space in between. Having some breathing room in between your charts will make it easier for the viewer to read your charts. Always try and minimize the number of colors you would use with small multiples, because we are adding so many charts. If you add more colors on top of that, it's just going to look crowded. So limit your colors to ideally 1, if not a maximum of 3. Finally, as I already mentioned, take time the first time you make a small multiples chart. It is important that any formatting changes you want are finalized with your first chart before you duplicate them. So keep that in mind. And that's it. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for future videos, and I will catch you next time.